I never made a video about Pentium 4s until now. This video is sponsored by my long-term sponsor PCBWay. If you want your circuit boards designed, realized and printed, you should check out PCBWay. Starting prices as low as $5 for a 1 or 2 layer design. Check the top banner for the current promotions. Place your order now, links in the description. Welcome to Retro Machines, my name is Victor Bart and let's take a look at the Pentium 4 platform. And as some of you know, it's not my favorite. So let's explore the platform, and while doing that I will tell you why I didn't do anything with Pentium 4s till now. And I didn't even know that I had Pentium 4 hardware because I don't really collect it. But in my scrap pile in my workshop I found this. And it was not really on the scrap pile to throw away, but more on the scrap pile that I don't use, but it's just good enough to not throw directly away. Yeah, let's see what we have. In here we have two motherboards. This Asus P5P800S, and this is a late generation Pentium 4 motherboard, socket 775. And we have this MSI 6523 850 Pro 2. So this is a first generation Pentium 4 with socket 423. So we have the beginning of the Pentium 4 era and the last generation of the Pentium 4s. But I don't know exactly if it is the last generation, but more the last generation with HCP and stuff like that. So why do I make this video here in the attic and not in my studio? Because the short answer is I don't want this peasant hardware in my studio. This machine and also this motherboard came from a home with like an extremely heavy smoker. The machine is completely dirty. I didn't even take the front panel and the rest of this case because yeah, it's not really worth it. It's just extremely dirty. So yeah, let's clean it a little bit, take this motherboard out, and then we're gonna compare the motherboards and tell you about the Pentium 4 platform. And back in 2001 to 2004 I worked by a computer shop and I built a lot of Pentium 4. So I did build a lot and I never owned one. Let's vacuum the machine. We have one expansion card, so let's take a look what it is. It's a modem, and I think it's a software modem, and they really sucked back in the days. Probably a 56.6, yeah, dial-up internet was really crappy. For me the Pentium 4 is like an end of an era system, because it started of course with the Pentium 1 and ended with the Pentium 4. And after that, Core and the Core 2 Duo and Core 2 Quad came on the market with PCIe. And that was a big step. And it was more an involvement of what already was on the market instead of really big improvements. And I will show you that when I compare the motherboards. But first let's take this motherboard out. And I think this is a high-end motherboard. And the other motherboard is more a lower end motherboard. And we have a dirty floppy drive, a Philips CD-ROM burner and a DVD-ROM from an unknown brand. So yeah, and the cooler was included, but it's super dirty. And for the rest there's a fan in the back and nothing else. Let's get rid of this case and just talk about the motherboard. So this is the first generation of Intel Pentium 4 motherboards with socket 423. This came directly after the Pentium 3s and the performance was Yeah, per clock speed, not as much as the Pentium 3 because they had the new net burst technology and it wasn't so impressive. And this motherboard has Rambus memory. And I don't know why they put two banks here, one bank here and one bank sideways here. Probably it was too complicated of a system to put them like 4 here, and you will also see some motherboards 2 here and 2 here, but this is just completely weird. And Rambus was, yeah, I think it was a big mistake. And I see here 2 terminators and 1 stick of Rambus and 1 empty slot. So I don't think this memory setup will work, but I don't know. We will find out maybe when I test this board someday. So we have 1 HP slot, probably 8 times. So a lot of nice video cards, because Pentium 4 era has some nice video cards with HP. But we have only 4 PCI slots. And this is one of the reasons why I skipped the whole Pentium 4 platform. Because I liked SCSI cards, and the Adaptec 29160 was already pretty affordable to buy second hand, and that's a PCI 64. But there are not really Pentium 4 motherboards with PCI 64 to get high speed cards like that. So that is really a big disadvantage of the Pentium 4 platform, and that is the PCI speed. It just wasn't there. You have the Xeon line, but that was really expensive back in the days. And also, a Pentium 4 is single core and not multi-processor. And back in the days I already wanted to have dual CPU systems because it was really faster to multitask and do things on your computer. So the Pentium 4 platform was not giving what I wanted. And you had also the AMD systems, and we don't really talk about the AMD systems in this video. This is more Intel focused and just about the Pentium 4. And you had the dual Athlon MP systems with dual CPUs, with MP multiprocessor CPUs. But what I chose was a dual XP machine, and dual XP 2400 plus. And then with a little can of silver paint, I unlocked it that it was detected as an MP CPU, and I could run them as a dual. And I had an Asus A7M266D, and that supported 2 of the AMD CPUs, HCP, normal PCI and PCI 64, and it was quite affordable to get that. So that is why I chose that platform, just like more higher end than any Pentium 4 could give me. So that's why I just completely skipped the Pentium 4s. But back on this motherboard, the caps look all fine. We have 2 IDE here and 1 floppy. Also nothing special in terms of storage. And I think it's just ATA 100 or something. Maybe ATA 133, but I don't think so. And here we have a C and R slot. And that was for like a replacement for ISA slots or for modems, sound cards. And it never took off because the PCI bus took over that. Because on the PCI bus a modem could run fine. Also any sound cards could run fine. So all the possibilities after ISA were all failures, and I don't think I have even hardware that can put in here. We have mouse and keyboard, 2 USB ports, also a lack of USB ports on this platform. And I don't see any USB headers on the motherboard. Maybe there's something hidden, but it was not really made for USB because it was still focused on the parallel and COM ports. And we have a sound card, no LAN on board. So yeah, super basic stuff that you already had in the Pentium 3 platform. So it was not really in terms of the connectivity and the IDE and things like that, it was not an upgrade or a step over the Pentium 3. So it was what we already had, but with a newer, higher clock CPU that performed per clock speed lower. The first Pentium 4 motherboards didn't make that much sense. And this is a Pentium 4 1.6 GHz with 256 kilobyte of cache, 400 MHz frontside bus, and in the socket in the style of the Pentium 3s, so with the big handle and a lot of pins. So yeah, it's just like socket 370 but a little bit bigger. Still has the tabs on the side for the CPU coolers, but also already some holes to bolt in a bigger CPU cooler. And we have here the 20 pin ATX connector, an AUX connector, and here the 4 pin Pentium 4 connector, because it already used more power than the Pentium 3 platforms, so you had to buy new power supplies and upgrade that. So this is not the most exciting motherboard in my opinion. And also the Rambus, yeah, Rambus. Who used it? Not many people, I think. And in the computer company where I worked, we had some Rambus motherboards. We only used Intel motherboards to build the systems. And we had DDR1 boards, they were okay. And we had even SD-ROM boards with Pentium 4. So yeah, even Intel didn't know which route they wanted to take, because they were promoting the Rambus, but AMD was doing the DDR1 thing, and that took over, and then Intel had to follow. And I think DDR1 was way less complicated than this. I think they can't put this one here because it makes the design of the motherboard way too difficult. And you already see here on the back of the motherboard, the traces zigzag a lot to get them the same length. And here it's really complicated. So they really struggled to make the Rambus work. Let's remove the Intel stock cooler of this motherboard, because I don't know what CPU is in here and I didn't test any of this hardware. And I'm curious what kind of CPU is on this motherboard. And I hope a hyper-threading CPU, because back in the days on the computer shop we were one of the 10 Intel resellers in the Netherlands. So we also got like engineering samples and like things under NDA. And also one day there was the Pentium 4 3.6 GHz with hyper-threading, one of the first CPUs that it had. And we couldn't sell that chip because it was an engineering sample. And the CPU ended up in a workstation of my colleague. And he was doing like email with it and Excel and Word and stuff like that on the fastest Pentium 4 CPU in the Netherlands. After the great story of the fastest Pentium 4 chip, this chip gives me emotional damage. It's a Celeron D. Why? Why should you use that? It's an Asus motherboard with a Celeron. Why am I making this video? This is just a failure. This board and this CPU combination. But at least it's socket 775. So we have some options to put better CPUs in it if I really want. Or should I just throw this out? But the nice thing about this CPU is the CPU doesn't have pins, so it's way easier to store. And the socket has the pins, like how it is in modern times. I think even AMD now switches to this system. So yeah, let's put it back to protect the socket. So let's talk about this piece of boring hardware. I think this is the theme of Pentium 4 hardware. It's just boring. But it's my opinion about Pentium 4s, and if you like Pentium 4s, please use it, game on it, have fun with it. But I don't get it, it's just doing nothing for me. So this motherboard has two DDR1 slots. So yeah, probably 2 GB memory support maximum. We have two IDEs here and a floppy. But this motherboard has one thing that is advanced. It has two SATA 150 ports. So this is like the beginning of the new era. But still on the old era layout of PCI slots and HCP slot. And for the rest, nothing going on. So it's really still lacking the possibilities of PCI 64 or something faster than the PCI bus. And that is for me a big thing about why it's the last of the generation. This is like the Windows 98 generation and the last things where it was running and made a little bit sense. But already Windows 2000 and later XP already took over, and with XP and PCIe it became like way more interesting than this. Yeah, what else should we talk about on this motherboard, because there's nothing going on. PS2 mouse keyboard, still on parallel port, one COM port, so they skipped one COM port. And do we have an extra COM header? No, probably not. Here's some probably digital out thingy. 2 USB here, 2 USB here. So now we have 4 USB. But I think this motherboard has more USB headers here. So in total we can connect 8 USB ports. So that is decent. But this other motherboard just lacks USB. So you had to put an add-on card and make it more complicated. Also on this motherboard we have 100 Mbit network on board. So that's nice. But also with gigabit a normal PCI bus is just not enough. So 100 Mbit is more of this era. And in my dual Athlon XP I had gigabit NIC on PCI 64. But here you don't have any high speed connections. So we have also a sound card, basic layout. Also 20 pin motherboard connector, the 4 pin. Not the best position for the cabling, but yeah, it is what it is. It's just a basic motherboard and nothing special. The only special thing that it is an Asus board, and I really like Asus. As you can hear, I can't get really excited about Pentium 4s. If I would be excited about Pentium 4s, I would be lying to you, and I'm not a person that is lying in videos. So yeah, Pentium 4s, it's just not the platform which I enjoy. So you already seen a lot of Pentium 3 hardware videos and Core 2 quad videos. So in my opinion, Pentium 2s and Pentium 3s is like the golden era of PC hardware. There were a lot of exciting things, new standards, faster, more memory support, cool video cards, or the 3DFX stuff, nice sound cards. It was the golden era. And then the Pentium 4 came that extended that era, but it was slowing down. You had cool video cards, that's a thing that is cool on this platform. And also after the 2 GHz CPUs, they really became faster than the Pentium 3 platform. And then also socket 478 came with some nice CPUs. I think the Pentium 4 2.4 GHz on like 533 frontside bus. It's a nice CPU in that era. So it's for me, this is like the end of the Pentium era and the Windows 98 era. And after this, the Socket 775 Core and Core 2 Duo and Core 2 Quad came on the market with PCIe, 16 slots, a new era of video cards, SATA 300 gigabit, like a lot of way faster standards. So in my opinion, just build on really fast Pentium 3 1 GHz or 1.4 GHz with a nice video card like in GeForce 2, maybe in GeForce 3, Voodoo 5, 5500, and play all the games that run on that. If that is not fast enough for the games that you are running, I would just skip to the Core 2 Duo or Core 2 Quad platform and build a system, because it runs all the Pentium 4 titles. So you can just skip the Pentium 4 and be happy. Yeah, that's maybe not the conclusion that you wanted to hear, but if you have a Pentium 4, please enjoy it. It's just not for me. So should I torture myself and make a second Pentium 4 video on this channel and test these boards out? I don't want to. Because, yeah, it's Pentium 4 hardware. But a lot of you enjoy Pentium 4s and have builds. Do you have a Pentium 4 right now? Which specs do it has? Did you had a Pentium 4 back in the days? Let's talk a bit in the comments about Pentium 4s, because maybe in the comments they are more enthusiastic about this platform than me. For me, just skip to the Core 2 Quads and join my Discord server. Because if you become a Patreon, you can get access to my Discord server and you can use my Amazon affiliated links. And thanks for watching.